thing. Any of you that are on social media at all know that there's a huge diversity in opinions about what should or shouldn't be being done right now. And the concern I have is not who's right and who's wrong in all of that, but how can we still be the body of Christ and unified as we move forward. So the main mode and the main heart that I've had and the leadership has had and staff have had moving into regathering and making that decision is that we do think that there's value in us being together and face to face, but we also think that there's value in erring on the side of precaution as we do. Here's the thing is you can debate all you want of whether this virus is as bad as what everybody's been told. But the reality is, if one person got sick and died from the coronavirus that had attended church here with us, that's one too many. So that's the mode that we're kind of operating on. Yes, and the other thing that I've told people, and this is, you're getting some insider information. This isn't like the public thing. This is the staff and volunteers that are helping, just so that you can hopefully have the ability to kind of keep your minds and hearts on the right thing. But the other thing is that we want to do this in a way that lives out who we say we are. We want to love people to a greater life in Jesus. And sometimes the way to love people is to not do what maybe makes us feel good and comfortable, but to do what we can to make other people. And there will be people that will be coming that either are of a more vulnerable population because of their own health or their age, or people that maybe even they're not vulnerable, but they carry around a little bit more fear than the average person over it. And so when they walk in, for instance, seeing different precautions that we're exercising makes them feel more comfortable. They're not sitting there feeling like, oh, I wonder if, I'm going to catch something here. And so if we can put our comfort aside for an hour on Sunday morning to make somebody else feel more comfortable, that's the heart behind what and why we're trying to do it. Now, the other thing that I've said all along, and people, it's hard to explain exactly what this is because I don't know. What we're going to be talking about and what we've kind of published is our starting point. This isn't our new normal. A lot of people have been talking about this whole idea of a new normal. There maybe is a new normal in our future somewhere. This is our starting point, and it's always safer to be stricter at the starting point and then be able to loosen up, because it's hard to go the other way. It's hard to be more laissez-faire, if you will, and then try to tighten things back down after you've done it. So all of those have been kind of some of the ideas and the philosophies behind why and what we're doing what we're doing. So I don't know if you've had a chance. This went out this week in our emails. It's just kind of a little quick primer to prepare people for what they're going to be walking into. Some of it, I wanted to invite you all here today so that you got a little bit of a taste, if you will, of it visually and not just on paper, to see some of what we were doing. Obviously, let's walk in, and I'm going to talk about some things that we're asking you all to be a part of doing and being a part of. First is, if the weather cooperates at all, I think it is very advantageous to us if we can have somebody outside the door, kind of in the parking lot, to greet people as they're coming in, before they even get to the building. Here's a couple things. Doorways are nemesises for us generally as a church, even more so under these social distancing requirements. We have a tendency to block doorways. I see it happen here all the time. It can happen down there at the main door sometimes, because that's where people are standing at the door to greet people. That's why I'm saying I think it's better to step outside of the door where you have a little bit more space. I tried to model that this morning. Hopefully you caught that. Step out where you have a little bit more space. You can greet somebody really friendly. You can give them directions for what they would need to know as they walk in. I pointed out the hand sanitizer to all of you. There is a table right next to that will have offering envelopes on it. And we will also have masks there that people are welcome to take if they don't have one. We are not requiring people, we're not going to kick somebody out for not wearing a mask. There are reasons that for different health situations and different things like that, that either somebody of a certain age or a certain physical condition can't be wearing them. We're understanding that. We're going to respect that, and we're going to try to do whatever we can to respect people no matter what their conviction is on it. However, we are highly encouraging people to wear masks. That's the language that we're using, is we're saying we're highly encouraging you to wear a mask. That being said, I am asking that everybody, if at all possible, if you are on our welcome greeter team for this Regather time, that you wear a mask. Because if we don't model it, we basically tell people it's not important. I'm even asking anybody that's singing on the worship team to wear a mask at least until they get in place on stage, because it's a modeling. If they can't wear it that long, it's not, you can't sing with a mask on. We are going to do some things. We're still trying to figure out how to install these, but these are clear plexiglass. There's a film on them right now, so you can't see it, but we're going to try to hang these up as just a screen up front. Because one of churches, if you've done any looking on the internet, one of the things churches are going to be having the most difficult time, I think, with is that singing has been determined to be one of the most dangerous activities within a church to spread the virus, okay? Because you're projecting things out. So with that, we're asking the congregation not to sing. Okay, we're going to try to do worship in a more contemplative, sing in your head. For some people, it's not that hard because they don't sing normally. But for those that do enjoy coming and singing, we're going to be asking them not to. But even from the front, we're going to be trying to do some things to protect just anything that might get in that way. I jumped ahead, but coming through the door, obviously, we're going to have a place, mask, sanitizer station. We're going to encourage people, do not hang out. The cafe is closed. You saw that. It will remain that way for at least the foreseeable future. It's not a place to want people to hang out. We don't want people to stop at the door, so we want to encourage people to say, hey, head on into the worship center and find a place to sit down with your family. Again, everything we're doing, I'm trying to make sure that we do it in such a way that we're making it positive. This is a family service. We want people to hang out with their families. We want them to sit with their families. The seating is such that people are, that we have several different size rows and everything. So if you've got a family of 4, hopefully they'll grab a family of 4, a row of 4s. There's 5s, there's 3s. We don't really have any 2s, but obviously if you have a couple with 2, you can sit them in a row of 3 or something like that. I don't know that we're going to have enough volume that we're going to need to have ushers, if you will. But if it starts getting full because of it being spread out so much, we might need some people in here to help just kind of point, I think there's a row back over there or something like that, all right? It is going to be weird for people because people are creatures of habit, right? And nobody's going to be able to find where they sit in this configuration. They could maybe say, I sit on this side or that side, but that's about as close as they're probably going to get at this point. And so, we're encouraging people to be conscientious of that. Restrooms. We are, for the time being, I don't know how long we'll do this, but at least for right now at the beginning, we're going to be doing a short service. It's a family-oriented service. We want people to bring their kids with them. That's one reason it's going to be short. The other is because we're not doing corporate worship, if you will. We're cutting kind of a couple songs out so there's just several things that are kind of making it it makes sense to be a little bit shorter. We're asking people to wear masks, and I don't like wearing my mask in a store for 45 minutes to go grocery shopping. I do it, but I don't like it, and I don't want people to have to sit here any longer than is needed. So there's a lot of reasons we're going to try to keep a shorter service. One of those reasons is we don't want people to have to use the bathroom. because those are another area that could be a little bit problematic to, if we have a lot of people using the bathrooms throughout the morning, there's a lot of opportunity for things to be spread. So what we're doing is we're going to keep the family restroom out here going into the kitchen. There's a family restroom right around the corner there. That one's going to be open. And then what used to be the single men's room over in that hallway, we turned it into a family restroom. That family restroom is going to be open. What that does for us is it keeps two restrooms on opposite sides, hopefully, and I think for the volume we have, that'll be fine. And it also will keep it, we can keep up with cleaning them. We may ask some people on the welcome team to go in there and wipe things, if it seems like people are using the bathroom, go in and wipe stuff down real quick, all right? We'll have plenty of these around, okay? To be able to work on that. So that's another thing. It's a precaution we're going to start out with, erring on the side of being a little bit more precautious than others. We're not going to serve any beverages. We might get to the point later in the summer where we'll start handing out bottles of water. That's probably, for the summer, I would think that's probably the most we're going to do. And the reason I would even say that is summer, it gets a little bit warmer, and it just might be advantageous to do that. We probably won't be opening up drinking fountains. That's the other reason why. All of our drinking fountains are closed, so we have kind of let people know, we have been encouraging people, if you want to bring water, coffee, something, you're welcome to do that, but you're bringing it on your own. We're not serving any right now, okay? This is something for us that I've kind of bounced around a couple different ways. A lot of churches in reopening and regathering have closed off entrances. Now, if you've been around here, we got a lot of doors. Everywhere we got a lot of doors. Entrance-wise, our three main ones are here into the portico, the east entrance over here, and the south entrance over here. The south entrance and the east entrance are probably our most used entrances by far. The question is, a lot of churches, because they're trying to control people coming in and be able to catch everybody as they come in and everything like that, have closed off entrances and forced everybody into one. I don't think that's as good. I think that creates more of a bottleneck potentially, because I think these two get used well enough that it'll be good for us to have both of them open. And I think especially as people leave. If everybody leaves at the same time and they're all going out that door, I think it's just too narrow and it'll be too tempting to get a bottleneck and get people closed off. So I'm going to keep both these entrances open. I should say probably open the third one too, mainly because that's where most of the people that park in the handicap come in that door. So it almost becomes an elderly entrance, and that may not be a bad idea either. So we're going to have three entrances still, and we'll have those sanitation stations at each entrance. Okay, hand sanitizer, mask, and offering envelopes at each. And the reason we put the offering envelopes at the door is because we don't want them in the backs of the chairs where kids can be playing with them and other people will be touching them. So we've taken everything out of the chairs. We don't have Bibles in the chairs. We're not going to hand out programs on a Sunday morning. We're going to try to not limit as much as possible the handling of paper or passing things out or passing things around to anybody. The other thing is, as long as the weather cooperates, which I don't think that it will be that bad for having it open, the way I had those doors propped open, you came right in, you didn't need to touch a door handle, we're going to have all our doors that way, okay? All the exterior doors are just going to be propped open. Nobody's going to need to hold them open or touch them in the handles. The only thing that I would say is that, and this will be something that we'll look to see how the timing would be of this, is whoever maybe is outside in the parking lot that Sunday working that area, when they come back in maybe 5 minutes, like 10:35, they would close the doors. Okay, so I don't think they need to be open all the way through service. But then the flip side would be, as we're finishing, we'd need somebody to go and block all the doors back open because we want people not have to touch the doors leaving either. Does that make sense? Okay. I've got giving boxes at both entrances, so we're not going to be passing offering plates. We don't need ushers to pass any plates. We're going to avoid passing at all. We will try, I've got little individual communion, pre-packaged communion cups that we could use for at least a couple months. They're in really short supply right now because every church in the universe is using these things. But I'm hoping that as summer goes on, we'll be able to get more of them. And when we do communion, we will use those cups. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to distribute those so that there's not a lot of contact. I mean, putting those in a basket and having people grab one out, you still risk a lot of contact from individuals. Passing them around in the trays will help, but then the trays are being passed around. So it might be that we just have 2 or 3 assigned people that are taking a tray up and down every row, so it's not getting passed from one person to another, but the individuals can just grab their one cup, their cup and wafer. Did you have a thought on that, Russell? Yes, the people that would be passing it would, yeah, anybody that handles the communion, whether it's putting it in the trays or passing it out, will have gloves and a mask on while they do that. So, yeah. Yeah, yep. Yeah, well, that's in our master plan. That was one of the points that we had in that too. So, obviously, you can see we've designed this for social distancing. Another thing that I think we can model, I don't think we realize how much we touch each other until you're told you can't. Now, I mean, there are some people that don't like being hugged or touched or anything like that, but just the nature of shaking somebody's hand as a greeting or something in the church context of a church, that's going to be really hard for people. So again, that's a place where we can model just a friendly howdy do. I mean, what did we do, Connor? 6-foot fist bump, right? I mean, the more we can kind of make it fun, make it light, make it friendly, then it doesn't feel like this, like, oh, I really want to, I want to hug you, Ron. I can't, that kind of thing. So, trying to just try to spin that around and make that friendly for people will be great. This is the other thing that I'm going to do next week, and I'm going to see how it goes, and then we may adapt from there. I'm probably going to release people after service kind of in sections. Because, I mean, there's not quite enough of you in here, but if you look like where you're at, Katie, if you guys were, your family sitting there, there's another family sitting there, there's another family sitting there, and then all of them get up all at once, and you all kind of go into that aisle at the same time, it's going to get really hard to maintain distancing. But if I release this section, hopefully it will flow a little bit easier. I don't like that idea. It just feels like such a weird way to end service. But I think I need to do it at least for the first week to just see how that goes and get a feel for that flow. And then that's something that we'll evaluate and adapt maybe as time goes on. But the only thing I was going to say with that is if, when we start looking at, next Sunday, everybody on the Regather welcome team, I know Katie's talked to you a little bit about it. We're going to ask you to be here at 10. So that we can get prepped and ready and make sure we have people assigned different areas and everything. So if you are responsible like for the doors to get them closed for service and get them open back up after service, obviously when I get to the end of my message, it'd be appropriate for you to slip out at that time. The other thing that some of what I'm giving you, some of this instruction, I'm going to take time in service for at least this month of June to give this instruction, give some of these points of instruction. There's going to be about 5 or 6 things that I'm going to go over with everybody in the church every Sunday, just as a reminder of how we're going to do this thing, okay? One of the things, and again, this is one of the things that, I don't like it, but I think it's necessary. We need to make sure we're encouraging parents to keep a handle on their kids because young kids just don't get this. and they're going to go run up and hug their teachers. They're going to want to go, I mean, there's just, they don't understand when they're told not to. And so it's really easy, and I even know that how easy it is for a parent to look away for a second and, your kid's not even in sight, right, Katie? Connor, stop it. So that is something that we're going to, I don't want it to be a negative thing. I don't want us to be like, you need to get back to your parents, or something like that. But, if we can at least be friendly, it's like, oh, stay with your parents, stay close to your parents and everything like that. And we'll try to keep it fun. And I'm going to try to do some stuff in the service to kind of keep it interactive and fun for the kids too. They're used to a high interaction in their teaching and in their services, which we're not going to be able to replicate completely in this environment, but I'm going to try to do some things creatively to kind of keep them engaged. The last thing is just we will continue to communicate that if anybody is symptomatic at all, if they have fever, cough, shortness of breath, any of those things, that they just stay home. We're going to continue to broadcast our service online. What the difference is, I've been recording the service earlier in the week, and then just we're broadcasting it for the weekend, if you will. We're actually going to, and we're doing it right now, right? We're actually YouTube living this meeting as a practice for next week. We will actually do our service live. So if there are people that that, I've already had a few of them contact me and saying, hey, I'm glad for what you're doing. I'm glad you guys are getting back together, but just because of some things that, we're going to stay home at first. And I yeah, that's great. Hey, we'll be online. You're welcome to join us that way. And so we're going to continue to try to provide that as an opportunity for people as well. I've told people all the way through this process, there's pluses and minuses to worshiping online. One of the things I'll tell you is there has been a lot more people geographically dispersed that have been watching our services online since we've been doing it that way. I've had friends that I haven't talked to in 20 plus years who are coming online for our service. But now that's not necessarily saying that's our goal. It's not, I think the true value of physical community has an importance too. But I don't want to diminish that people that aren't, or people to feel as though people that aren't here are any less part of us because they're not here. That's the product of unity, if you will. I want to stay positive. I don't want to have people think that we're responding to fear or that we're being unfaithful even. We believe that this is a plan that God has led us to as a church. And so this is us stepping in faith, but also stepping in faith with open hands that God will lead and guide and direct us as need be. And that's why every week, one of the things also I need you guys to be helping with is I need you to be eyes and ears, okay? What does that mean? That means that as you see or maybe hear things that we might need to address, bring them to my attention. You can run them through Katie, and Katie can get them to me, or you can just send them to me directly if you want. But don't think, oh, well, I'm sure it's no big deal. Let us know, because you may hear it, Ron, but then Kelly might hear it too. And, that would mean something if we're starting to hear, even, I'm saying grumblings, or maybe you see that, hey, there's a bottleneck here. Is there something we could do about this bottleneck? Or, oh, I saw a lot of people touching this. Are we aware that they're touching this, area of this space? Kids are walking down the hall going like this on the walls. Who knows what's going to happen, okay? But if you guys see certain things like that, just bring them to our attention so that we can at least that could be part of evaluating and adapting our plan as we go through. So, any questions on any of that? Or on anything? Kelly, you got it all figured out? Yeah, well, good. That's about the way I feel. The back section. Oh, yes. Nobody will be able to. Good. That's something I did not address. Um, at least for the first 2 Sundays, everybody's meeting here. Cuspide de Fe will be in here as well with us. Okay, so there'll be no need for anybody to go past the middle hallway. We will have. There's a gate actually. Most people don't even know this, but like those old school gates, we still have one right here. So we may go ahead and just pull the gate down just to prevent anybody from going down that way. But yes, we're going to try to avoid having that because the Y is opening tomorrow. The Y daycare is opening tomorrow, and that's another element some people don't realize for us. Not that it's mission critical, but they are a significant financial supporter of this church by what they pay for rent. And they have a lot of strict requirements on them that they have to maintain to stay open. And so we're trying to do whatever we can to help protect their space. For instance, the clothes closet, at least for right now, we have no plan for reopening it. I'm not saying we plan to reopen it, we just don't have any timetable of a plan because it can't be open the way that it has been because they would be occupying that same hallway at the same time that the daycare's there, and that can't happen. It can't coexist. So either we're going to have to move or adjust or do something, or the restrictions that they have on them are going to have to change so that we could do that. So yes, we're going to try to protect that side of the building as much as we can, even if when Cuspide de Fe starts meeting again, we probably are going to try to make. They usually do anyway, but we'll make them use the far hallway and not that one. With that as well, right now, any small groups, any parties, I've had several people ask if they could rent the church for a baby shower or something in June, and I'm like, no, the leadership has decided, and the conference, some of this is coming from our conference as well, has given us not necessarily a dictate, but guidelines that they want us to live within, and short-term rent kind of situations is something they said for right now you should probably avoid. At all. I mean, it's not a necessary thing for us because we let people into our building to use a room, then you don't know where they are, where they've been. You guys have been here for parties or gatherings or social things. The kids are all over the place. They're touching everything. They're playing hide and seek. This building is too tempting. So we would have to sanitize. I mean, if we let somebody come in for a baby shower of 20 people, we'd have to sanitize the entire place after they were done. It's just not reasonable. So we're just not allowing that to happen right now. So, and again, when I say right now, I don't have any kind of time frame on this. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be minimum of 4 weeks. This is what I've described to you for the most part is going to be a minimum of 4 weeks that we're going to be living in this, and then hopefully we'll have enough enough in the government and community and everything is going to be known, and we're going to have enough within even churches. I mean, churches are just now starting to open back up. Some of them aren't even opening up. I've heard several that have chosen that they're going to continue just to meet online for the entire summer. That they've already made that decision. They're not even going to bother trying to open their doors of the building. But we should have enough of them that have opened up and that there's a little bit more data, if you will, to support, what kind of changes we might need to make after that. So, thoughts? See, that's a small group, basically, kind of gathering. Right now, that's still kind of in that window. I would say that at least probably the month of June, we're not going to open up for any kind of small group. Because again, once you open that up, not that group would be touching every wall and playing hide and seek in the building, but they're going to be in the kitchen. And I'll even say this, when it does, most of what I've been seeing with research is, I would say for sure all summer, if not maybe even all of 2020, we're not going to be serving food or drink of any kind. I mean, that means that if you want coffee at your Bible study, you're going to bring it. We're not going to make it. Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument, well, restaurants are making them and different things like that. Well, yes, but they're also employees that are required to use certain sanitation practices, and we can't ensure that every volunteer making coffee is going to follow that. And so, I mean, we don't have a supervisory nature over a lot of those things. We're just trusting the good intentions of people. Yeah. Yeah, my hope would we would get back to being able to do that sometime, maybe later this summer. I'm thinking more likely early fall, like September, that we'll get back to being able to do physical in-person small groups. One of the things we have talked about possibly doing, especially with the summer, is if small groups want to meet and do like an outdoor small group meeting or something at somebody's house, that might be a good thing to do. Outdoor environments actually are a lot better than being closed in with a bunch of people, is what they're saying. So I know some churches that have actually done that too, where they're starting to open have the services, but they're doing outdoor services still. They're not doing inside the building. So I don't have a direct answer to that, Ron, but we're thinking about it, we're processing it, but we needed to do this first. We need to do the public Sunday morning thing first, figure that out, make sure that's ironed out before we start opening other parts of the building up. Yeah. Yeah, we just don't want to have to chase down too many rabbits of making sure things are cleaned and cleanly and everything. I mean, we got one part-time custodian. He can't be in here 40 hours a week cleaning everything after everybody. And I mean, and part of it is I would hope that anybody that's using the building, like if we put a bottle of these in the bathrooms and put a sign and say, please wipe everything down after you're done, will it happen? Some might. All right, so if we have a meeting in the hospitality room and we tell people, okay, well, make sure you clean up and wipe everything down and everything when you're done, will it happen? Sometimes, maybe, but we can't be sure. The only way we can be sure is if we have a staff person on a schedule doing that. And so we've got to figure out what it's going to take to have the building cleaned thoroughly for a Sunday morning, and then we can look at, and probably the most likely thing, Ron, would be that we would open up the Sunday morning Bible study before we did the Wednesday at this point, just because we're already going to be cleaned before and after Sunday, and so it would be still within that window, and it wouldn't be adding another layer. And the other side of it is, I mean, it may not be able to be down in that hallway because the Y is letting kids in and out. We may have to make it be that this is the entrance and that's the room that we're going to be able to meet in for right now. So, who does? Oh, the greeters and everything? I'm not asking you to at this point because Aaron's going to go through, because that's the thing is if I have 10 people cleaning and they're like, Russell's doing that, you're doing that, somebody else is doing that. If we miss something, we don't know where the gap is. If Aaron does it, if he has all week to do it, he can methodically make sure he gets to everything because you got one person doing. Does that make sense? So it would save him a lot of time if we could do that. It's just that ensuring that we don't have gaps in the process, and yeah, so. Anybody that's ever worked in any kind of business where you had to do cleaning, you know that some people do it better than others. And some people leave stuff for you to do. Drew, are we good? All right. All right. If you guys don't have any more questions, thoughts, or anything like that, that's all I had for this morning, and I want to thank you. I mean, I talked to you in the booth already about some of that stuff, Dustin, just keeping people out of the booth, wiping stuff down, that type of thing. We'll go from there. So if you do think of anything throughout the week or whatever, let me know. I'm going to have my magic notepad ready and waiting. But we look forward to seeing you, and we're going to have service next Sunday. Yeah. So I don't think I need to dismiss you by rows, so I think you might be okay to find your way out. Thanks for coming. Live long and prosper.